Super excited. Thanks a lot, Petri, for the introduction. And this, first of all, super awesome presentation by Marcel. It was really good. Love it. And it's going to be super fitting because today you guys have heard a lot of awesome content, right? Strategies, systems, how you can basically scale your agency, right? Or basically your business. And today what we're going to talk about is how you can master your daily performance and consistency so you can scale your agency, but do so without neglecting your health, burning out, or sacrificing time outside of business. So it was really awesome because we had some good questions here, like how many hours did you put in this, right? And everybody's like, wow, a lot of hours, right? And so people have to understand that, yeah, very often what we do comes with a sacrifice, right? And so I want to start out actually with a question to you guys. Who of you has at the beginning of the year sit down and set goals for 22? Who of you has set goals for the year? All right, cool. Who of you set goals also specifically for a personal area, for something outside of business that you want to improve? All right, some people as well. Who has set a goal for a specific habit that you want to implement, like a good habit to implement, to do more of, bad habits to break? Or maybe even a New Year's resolution. Okay, some people. And out of those, now at the end of January, how many of you are still on track with your New Year's resolution? Okay, a bit less hands. That's totally common, right? We guys all set ourselves resolutions and things. And so just a quick thing about me, I don't want to talk too much about it, but I've worked with close to 100 agency owners in the last 3 years and business owners in general as well. And what I've really seen is what is holding people back, right? And that's going to be the topic of the next few slides. And then after this, we're going to make it really interactive. So I want you to think about what is holding you guys back the most. You have seen an amazing presentation by Marcel, so you should just sit down, right, and just implement it, if it were so easy, right? But what is holding you back the most, okay? What we're going to do now, we're going to go through a few common things that I have seen is what holds people back. So now, while we go through that, also think about and write down what is it that holds you back, and then at the end, we're going to make it super interactive and make sure that you get your questions answered. Sounds good? Yeah. Awesome, guys. Cool. So what I have seen is a few of the following things, okay? And let's talk about this. Is it that people don't have enough information, right? And what I hear a lot from people is some of the following things. Let me just watch some YouTube videos, read some more books, or just get another course. I need more information, right? And the question is this. You guys, I think, are super well equipped with awesome information, right? You have great mastermind, you have great presentations. So very often the information is not the issue, because if it were for information, but wait, why is not everybody crushing it? Why is not everybody running around having a multi-million-dollar business at the same time, six-packs, abs, super ripped, and the best relationship, not burned out, and a Zen Buddhist, right? The information is out there, right? You have books, you have courses. You can even pirate the best courses out there of everything if it were just for the information. So very often the conclusion for me is what I've seen, for most people, information is actually, more information is not worth a lot, right? Because the information itself only will not do much for you guys. You've seen so many presentations today, but if you're not able to implement them and stick to them consistently, nothing will change, all right? So what you need is a proper customized implementation and then sticking to it long term, and that's really where it's at, okay? And we're gonna talk about that more in a second and see also in the Q&A how we can make that work for you, okay? Let's talk about the next point. Some people tell me, oh, I just need more willpower and motivation, you know? Like I have this awesome plan by Marcel now, how I create my agency, systemize everything. But you know, sometimes I'm just not motivated, you know. Or I just need more willpower. I just need to, you know, push myself a bit more. I just need to be more disciplined. And who of you has had one of these thoughts ever? I'm not disciplined enough. I need to push and motivate myself a little bit more. I should just stop checking my phone that often. I should just resist ordering food that much. Or I should just go to the gym more often. And basically, it's this inner voice which should tell you, man up, do more of it, push yourself more, it can't be that difficult. And you can summarize it with one of those. Do you know it? Just do it, And that's kind of the voice maybe in your head that says, just do it, you need to push yourself harder. But is that the solution? Well, everybody says you have to be disciplined, right? In entrepreneurship, you have to be super disciplined. But who talks about how do you actually become that disciplined? That's a big question. How do you become disciplined? Is it by just pushing yourself? Maybe at the end of the day, you're super tired. You wanna do something, you wanna still go to the gym, but then you just can't get yourself to do it because the willpower and the motivation is simply too low. Is that how you become disciplined? Let's see. I want to tell you a quick story. It's my cold shower epiphany story. So 5 years ago, I lived in Barcelona, right? I did my studies there. And I had this event, this day, still remember this day. It's a quick story. So it was one day I was in the gym and I had just finished an amazing workout. I was super tired, super sweaty, and I was just on my way to the changing rooms to take a shower, right? Super looking forward, just hot shower and relaxing. So I get in there, get into the shower, start the water here. Water is cold. I was like, oh no, water is cold, fuck. Wait a bit more. Water doesn't get warmer. I'm like, what's going on here? Water is not getting warm. And I'm starting to get frustrated. I'm like, what's going on here? And I cannot get myself into the cold water because I'm so tired. I'm just so finished basically at the end of a long day and I just had a workout. No way I'm going to go into that cold water. So what I do is I stop it. I'm like super angry at the gym owner. Why can't this guy not fix this? Can't be that difficult. Take my clothes, go sweaty into my clothes. I hate this. I walk back home and then I shower there. And then when I'm back home, I'm like, that was really stupid right now. Why can I not take a shower and I'm angry at the gym owner? I should be angry at myself that I'm not able to take a shower. And so from this moment onward, I swore to myself, I'm going to learn to take cold showers. And from this moment onward, 5 years ago, every day, every morning, I'm taking a cold shower. Every morning. And this story, I want to demonstrate something with you. I'm showing the lesson from this. But I started first, let the water become colder, step by step. And then I was like hyperventilating, like, not really really like was super cold. But then step by step, it became a habit. And step by step over the years, it became more normal. And at some point, I had this epiphany where I'm like, this has become some part of me. I've started to call myself someone who takes cold showers. And it's really so normal for me now, even though every morning it feels uncomfortable. It's not like, oh, it's suddenly warm, the water. No, it's still freaking cold. And it still feels uncomfortable. But it's so normal for me. I have become a person who takes cold showers. I've shifted my identity. And this is a lesson I want you to take away from this. And we're going to take a look at this. What is the ladder of consistency or the scales of consistency? Let's go through those. You can also call it the ladder of discipline or the ladder, basically the scale of discipline. We're going to go through 4 layers. There's 4 levels of this. The lowest level of discipline and consistency is willpower and motivation, right? On some days you're motivated, you can get yourself to do something, you go to the gym, you're motivated, or also you guys are motivated now because you heard the awesome presentations from the other guys and you're like, boy, I'm going to crush it, I'm going to implement these things, it's going to be awesome. However, this is not reliable because on some days you have willpower and motivation, and then on other days you're like just so tired or something happened, you're not motivated, and then you're not going to stick to it anymore. So that's the lowest level actually of consistency. The second level is disciplining yourself. That's already a little bit higher down the line, which means you do that more regularly, right? You basically use also some form of willpower, but you can actually start to train your brain to do something more consistently. So some people talk about your brain frontal cortex gets stronger because you use that more regularly. You can get somewhat better at this, at using willpower and disciplining yourself. However, it's still limited. It's still not possible to do that all the time. At some point, you know, something happens in your day, you're just too tired and you don't have any discipline, it's not endless that you can do this. So it's somewhat better, but it's also not the highest level of consistency. Now, level 3, now we're talking habits and routines. What you do here is a very important differentiation. You go away from willpower and pushing yourself towards being clever about your environment, making it easy that you stack certain habits together to routines so that it's very easy for you to stick to those and do that consistently. Let me give you an example. When you, at the end of a day, right, you want to go to the gym. You had a long day at work. One thing saying willpower and motivation would be, yeah, I just need to push myself now and get off the couch. That is sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't, right? Disciplining yourself would be very similar. Maybe you have some accountability in place, but it's also not very reliable. But if you have a really strong routine in place, where, for example, you've already prepared your gym bag, it's standing at the door, right? The gym is very close. You maybe already have an appointment scheduled there. Then the only thing you have to do is you focus on getting into your gym shoes. You also have maybe a sauna next to the gym, a reward that you're looking forward to. After that, you maybe allow yourself your favorite protein shake, right? So you have a plan where you thought about how can I make this habit so easy that getting started is not a question at all. It's super simple. And that's the question, because most people, they're stuck at this stage. They think like, something is maybe wrong with me. I'm just not a disciplined person. I'm just not, you know, motivated enough. But most people just don't have a plan. They haven't sat down properly and defined how can I make this so easy that it's bulletproof, it's foolproof even. That even on the worst day it's gonna happen, it's gonna be super easy, okay? That's the level where we should be targeting at. But even this is not the highest level yet, because the highest level is number 4. And that's what I was mentioning with the cold shower epiphany. Once you do something for long enough, it starts to become your identity. It starts to become normal for you. You see yourself as this person who does this. You start to call yourself, hey, I'm a person who works out. I'm a person who eats healthy. You can see this in a very extreme case. For example, if you say, I'm a vegan. Do you understand this? You have your self-image attached to I'm a vegan, and then it's very easy for you to totally decline any animal product. And that's a very simple idea, or like the way our self-image works. If you shift because of small habits and routines, you do that long term, your identity starts to change, because you accumulate this proof that you're becoming a certain type of person. Okay? So that's the highest level, and that's what we want to reach in the long term. And if you, let's talk about this for a second. If you were to ask, for example, a pro athlete, right? Let's take some pro athletes. Let's take Usain Bolt, for example, best sprinter, and let's take Michael Phelps, right? Best swimmer out there. If we were to ask them, Mr. Bolt, Mr. Phelps, how do you guys regularly motivate yourself to go and work out? I guess they would say something like this. What? I'm not motivating myself, because these guys, they say, hey, I'm an athlete. That's who I am. Of course I'm working out. It would be weird for us to not work out. They would need to motivate themselves or push themselves to not work out, because that is the highest level. They, of course, have over the years implemented epic routines, epic habits, and then over the course of the time, they've shifted really their identity, and it's so normal for them to do these things. And so that's why I want to talk about this. What is discipline then? And it is not something you do. It's not something you do that you're like, oh, I'm disciplining myself. No, discipline is a byproduct. And it's a byproduct of you creating the right habits and the right optimizations in your day with a proven process, with a good plan, by designing your environment, really doing that properly, and then step by step align them with the desired identity, the person you want to become, and through that process you're shifting your identity, you're shifting that person, and that's really how you create sustainable habits. And then people say, wow, he's so disciplined. But actually, you're not doing anything. It's just something that has become part of you. And it's become something that's really normal for you. Okay? And then let's turn now to the final point that I hear a lot what is holding people back. So we talked about information. People think they need more information, but it's actually not the case. People think they need willpower and motivation, also not the case. And what I hear a lot is this as well. Business is first right now, right? Things like this. I need to grow the business first and get to the 7 figures revenue milestone. And then I might think about improving my performance, for example, my energy levels, my sleep, or my consistency in the gym. Or I hear things like, I cannot see how, let's say, exercising more will help me bring in more revenue. Or I hear things like, I don't see the connection between being more consistent in my personal life and making more money in my business. And it looks kind of, yeah, they have some points, these guys, right? But if you look a bit closer, I want to help you have a shift. There's this thing I want to talk with you about. If you guys have support for the strategy or an operation side of your business, right? You have the best strategies from awesome agency owners, from mentors, you're in a mastermind. Could it be that your own performance and execution is a bottleneck? Could that be the case? Because if you have all the info and still you're not getting it done, think about this. Maybe there's a bottleneck with you yourself and the way you show up every day. That's one thing to think about. And the other thing is, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So what that means is that everything is connected in our lives. How you show up in your personal life will also determine how you show up in your business and the results do you get. That's a big statement, I know, but think about this. If you're always tired, you're not sleeping well, you're not recovered, then you start working in the morning and you have a team meeting, you show up and people see that you're groggy. What inspiration is that for your team? What inspiration is that for the business? If you go on a sales call, you're groggy, you're not energized, you're not going to have the highest closing rate either. And also your clients will notice these things. So how you show up, how you also organize yourself, then reflects also into the business. So everything is connected. You cannot isolate this. And that's why it's super important that you start to see yourself as the new athletes. I like to say that entrepreneurs are similar to athletes. If you look at Michael Phelps and Usain Bolt, they take care of themselves. They really, take good nutrition, good food, rest, recovery, working out, making sure they are on top of the game. And you guys, you are actually, if you think about it, there's not many entrepreneurs out there. We're still a small percentage of the whole population. But you guys wear a lot of responsibility. So it's super important that you are on top of your game, that you're mentally sharp, so you can perform at the highest level possible. Okay? And so, to just show you an example, if you have great habits and routines, you sleep better, you also have higher energy and more focus, you're going to be more productive and manage your time better. That means you get more of the needle-moving tasks done in less time. You sit down in the morning like Marcel, and you're crushing it by creating those SOPs that you know you should do because you're able to focus. If you're always distracted and you didn't sleep well, how are you going to get this stuff done? You're like, okay, let me just check some emails, that's easy. Well, of course, you're never going to get a setup like this if you're tired. That's why it's super important that these habits are on track. So you're able to work well, you're energized, you're focused, you're productive, and you have good time management. So you're getting those needle-moving tasks done and also do so without burning yourself out. Because if you do this, if it drags out all day, well, of course, you will not last long because you don't have any balance in your life anymore. And then, of course, if you're more energized, you make better decisions, you have better sales calls, you have better meetings, your team will love you more, you create an awesome culture in your company. And you then, of course, will also spend less time working because you're more efficient. And so you're able to have more time for recharging other areas and enjoying your life. Okay? So to summarize this, what are the ingredients for success? I think it's three ingredients. You need strong accountability plus real commitment. Patrick talked about this accountability partner. It's one element. Another element is coach, mentoring, masterminds, where you create this accountability as well. Strong accountability. plus real commitment. Real commitment means emotional, financial, psychological, that you even make public announcements that you're now focusing on this, which again refers back to the accountability piece. Okay, super important. If you don't really dedicate yourself towards improving these areas step by step, it won't get better. Just sitting down, yeah, I'll read a book on this, will not do much difference. And then the second piece is you need a proven process and step-by-step system for sustainable habit change. That summarizes a bit the piece, what we talked about in terms of the willpower piece. If you don't have this, if you don't step-by-step sit down to think about what are the habits that matter for me most right now, what should I improve, and you don't create a plan for how to improve this, chances are tomorrow willpower again and just say like, okay, yeah, I'll just not check the phone, or yeah, I'll just motivate myself to go to the gym, and then you fail again because you don't have a plan, you don't have a sustainable process for habit change. Okay, and the final piece is you need that deeper identity change. You need to sit down at the beginning, and that's also related actually to what Patrick said in the idea of what you actually want to get out of your life. So you start with what's your vision, what are your values, what do you want to achieve, and very importantly, the missing piece here is this: who's the type of person you want to become, right? But I like to say it like this: instead of asking yourself what, ask yourself who. Basically, again, who instead of what? Who do you need to become who would easily achieve your goals? Instead of thinking, what do you need to do? No, who do you need to become for that kind of person that it would be so normal for that kind of person to actually do the things necessary to achieve your goals? And then once you understand this, you ask yourself, if I'm trying to become this person, what are the small habits I would need to implement so I'm proving to myself that I'm becoming this person? Okay, and I think these are the 3 ingredients for success. Let's ask if our athletes agree. Let's see. Yes, good. They agree. Thumbs up. Awesome. Cool, guys. Then I don't want to talk more about this. Let's really talk about what is holding you guys back the most. So let's give it up for a Q&A. Who has any questions? Yeah, Marcel.
Well, great presentation, man. Really liked it. One of the things, for example, I'm really motivated each day. Like I do meditation, I do also cold shower. But for example, for a trip like this, here, I don't meditate, I don't eat well, I don't. So what's your recommendation? Like, should I have also the same routines in every trip, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Yesterday I didn't meditate, today I'm not going to do it. I think I'm going to drink a lot, so...
Yeah, look, but so, how confident are you that come Monday you will be back on track?
That's the thing, like Monday, Tuesday...
It takes time.
Yeah, it takes time, like...
Yeah.
That's the thing.
So some things can definitely be improved there, but I'll tell you this: if you have strong routines, I'm very similar today, and I talked with this, like Patrick and I talked about this, right? Where I said, hey, do you actually, for example, if you have these situations like a mastermind, do you need to go like in this all or nothing mindset that like, yeah, I will, not do anything today? No, of course not. Because if you have strong routines, then you can also rely on them that, come back like Monday to Friday again, you will get back on track. So it's no problem at all if 80-90% of the time you're on track with your routines, and then comes a special event like this and you fall back or like you don't do it at all. Because actually it's awesome, because it's a test for how strong your routines are. Because, there could also be things which are not planned. You have an accident, you get sick, and then of course, will you stop your routines which you had for 2 years simply because you got sick once, right? That would mean you didn't have this, what we said, this step-by-step system for actually implementing habits, because then you would probably have implemented them by luck, right? So it's actually awesome that you have these situations every now and then, once per month or so, or every few weeks, where you get off track, so you can see how easy it is for you to get back on track again. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a bit of a kind of a dilemma. I'm assuming you've read Psycho-Cybernetics.
Yeah.
So, like, the idea behind the book is you cannot be consistent unless you see yourself as that identity.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that on the inside, you can be super inconsistent. So like the dilemma is, of course it makes sense that if you implement a habit that you do it consistently for 6 months, after 6 months you're going to see yourself as someone doing that, and you're going to do it non-stop after those 6 months. But my question is there any way or anything you've seen where you can kind of speed up the identity shift or the identity, like you can see yourself as that before the 6 months, and that's going to make it that kind of easier to implement that new habit?
Yeah.
It's just like force the habit 6 months and then you can get it.
No, that's exactly wrong, the second part. You don't force the habit. If you force the habit and you feel like you need to force the habit for 6 months, you're doing something wrong. Yeah. That's totally the case, because if you force the habit, you're not using a step-by-step system. Because if everything feels always difficult, you're doing it wrong. You're doing too much at the beginning, for example. And that's the thing I see all the time, people starting with something, and then they're like, okay, let me just meditate for 30 minutes every day, and after 6 months, probably it's super easy. Well, this is a recipe for failure. It's not going to work. You should rather approach it like this, that you build this consistency first with a meditation habit of a few minutes even per day, so then you have proof of like, how easy is it for you to say, I'm going to meditate 2 minutes for 14 days? I think we could do this, right? We could fit it into lunch break or something like this. And then suddenly, after 2 weeks, you're like, wow, like I did 2 weeks straight of meditation, and things start to shift now, right? It's of course not a strong habit yet, but you start to shift. So that's it. You need to accumulate this proof that you're becoming this person by tuning down the barrier for success, not making it difficult for you. That's super important. And the second hack I want to give you is, not applicable to all habits, but for some habits, think about where in the past have you been like this before? I think that's powerful, because for some things, we're like, yeah, wow, it's going to be difficult and so much discipline required and so on. But think about, were there times in the past where maybe something similar you have done, or maybe you were consistent with something? That's something we neglect a lot. We don't celebrate our past successes. We only look at, what we don't have and where we fall short. But think about, where have you been good? Maybe as a teenager, you had some really cool hobby with it, and you don't do it anymore for whatever reason. And then think about these things. They're going to motivate you, and they also make you see, hey, wow, there is already this part of myself that can be consistent. Wow, right? And that's like, this is also a booster, because then your identity shifts quicker when you understand that the potential is already in you. It's already there. It's about just combining it with this, making it easy on yourself, step-by-step process, plus the mindset element of the identity, where you already have been like this, and then it's much quicker to shift the identity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, super easy at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Yeah, Marcus.
Maybe something that ties into this, that I've seen working is when you want to have a certain identity or certain habits, set of habits, it's actually way easier to get there when you join a group where those habits are the absolute standard.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like, you're kind of like tricking yourself into it, because everybody knows that feeling when you join a group. Kind of want to catch up with all the other guys, and when those habits are already established in this group, it's way easier to catch up. It's also the point of identity, and also
it's very important that you say that, because you have a strong accountability piece, that you say, I'm going to commit to this group, right? And then also what I do with my clients is you see when someone new joins our program, people celebrating their wins. And I make people celebrate their wins every time. Like on a weekly basis, a few times people post their wins. And these are small things like, ended work at the time that I wanted, hit the gym that many times, in the morning didn't check my phone until lunch. And like, what? That's a win? Didn't check my phone until lunch, right? And that's like, people understand, wow, these are the type of things we can actually celebrate. It's amazing, right? And so you want to live up to that. You want to also be able to post those wins. And then it's like you're part of this identity. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Lots of presentations. So when you look at, let's say, all of the areas of improvement that you can be there in order to become a high-performance agency owner or entrepreneur, and let's assume we start from scratch and from zero. Which area would have like the most lever? Is it going to the gym? Is it meditation? Is it, so where would you start? Because I see myself, trying to do everything now on Monday, which will not happen. Clearly, so.
That's the thing. First thing, I would answer you, please watch the mastermind replay where you didn't attend. No, because we touched on some of these points. I think that's going to be super valuable for you. But yeah, the first leverage point is usually the energy piece. Because of course, the first thing to start is what we said here. Getting really clear about who you want to become first, right? What is holding you back the most? So that's the first piece. Getting clarity, how does your day look like? And then long term, who do you want to become and what holds you back the most? But then most of the time, for most people, it's the energy piece. So that means the biggest energy mover is sleep, for sure. Sleep. If you don't get proper sleep, your nutrition and exercising are super important, but not as important as your sleep. Not as important. They're actually based on your sleep. For example, quick example, if you didn't sleep well, your hormones like ghrelin and other types of hormones are released, making you more hungry, right? That means when you're not eating, when you are sleep deprived, you'll be more hungry. So it will be more difficult for you to actually stick to a good diet, right? Same thing with exercising. If you didn't sleep well, you're less motivated to exercise and you will not be as high performing. So sleep is everything. Again, now, how do we sleep better? Well, goes back to when do you end work? What do you do in the last 2 hours before you go to bed, right? How much stress do you have? So it all is connected. That's why I say everything is connected to the other thing. How you do one thing is how you do everything, right? And that's why you need to understand where do you start? And for most people, I start always in the second half of the day because as Patrick said already in the 10 lessons, you win your day the evening before. So you need to ask yourself, I always start with like, okay, when do you end work? How much work do you carry into the evenings? Therefore, how much of that is that affecting you in terms of winding down, in terms of also focus and light and so on? And then of course the other things, what do you do in the evenings? Do you like have your screen blasting in your face and you're still checking stuff until late at night and you have light in your face? All of that is going to impact your sleep. And then also how consistent is your sleep schedule? Do you eat close to bedtime? There's a lot of stuff, and we can also go over this in like another workshop or something. In the German one, it's already in there. But that's where you start, right? Optimizing sleep. Then after this, once the sleep is on track, you look into starting the day proactively versus reactively. If you don't do that, you will never get to what Marcel said. I love this example, man, because it's exactly building on that. So you will never get to sitting down and doing all this SOPs. You're systemizing your agency, you're right? And then, of course, after this, things like nutrition, exercise, and so on should be in place as well. That's usually the approach, but you start with the evenings and the sleep. Make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. Who has any questions left?
Probably just like a recommendation. You should totally do a presentation on sleep, actually.
Yeah.
Because I've spoken to many other people in the mastermind, and like I feel like about 70% of us have issues sleeping.
Yeah.
And it's because I've spoken to so many, they're like, I can't sleep, my mind keeps wandering, I'm so busy thinking about other things that it's impossible to wind down, even while not looking at your cell phone.
Yeah.
But they're just like, and it's really hard.
And that's, again, great question. And we can actually totally do something like this, a more dedicated sleep training in the mastermind. But if you think about it, yes, we have the component of the screens and so on. But the question is also, how long do you work? Even if you don't look at screens, right? If you work at your laptop. And the other thing is also, do you have habits in place that then help you to let go of the stress and of the work, right? Because if you, for example, don't have anything that relaxes you, like a wind down routine. For example, for some people, it's super helpful to journal, right? They have a journal, and then before they end work, they sit down and they write all the thoughts that are occupying them, write them down. And some people, they even burn it and throw it away because like, let's get this thing out of my head. And that can be helpful. But you need to test a few different things, but I'm a huge fan of having some form of wind down routine where you do something relaxing, like breathing, or do you some yoga, or these types of things. But let's be honest, most of us, we have our screens, put it away, okay, sleep. But that's not really where the body had some time to wind down, right? And that's like the thing, we don't give our body this time to wind down, and that's why the mind is super active on hyperspeed, and that's why it's super difficult to relax. So it's like a combination of avoiding some bad habits and implementing some good habits. Awesome. Anybody else? Any questions of things that are holding you back? Everything. You can also ask more specific questions about certain things if you want. Yeah.
How does your routine look like? How do you start the day?
Yeah, so I do it. If you want to start with the morning. So let's just start quickly with the evening. So I'm a huge fan because I've tried so many things of keeping it simple, right? Once you start out, you try a few different things to see what works best for you. But I like to try to keep it simple. And what we do in the evenings, we lower the lights around the time when the sun sets, so we don't have really bright lights going on. We also have like some sexy blue light blockers. She has some too. So we use some of those blue light blockers because they can help you they make you more tired. And also if you, for example, still want to watch some documentary or something that relaxes you, you can still have those on, and they're not going to affect your melatonin production so much. So that's just a little gadget, not necessary, but cool. And then we do something relaxing, like either some stretching or some breathing session. We have like this app where you just lay down on the yoga mat and you put you can put your hands on your belly, and then you just follow this breathing rhythm. There's different types of apps for this. Calm has some feature. Another one is Othership, different types of breathing apps. And that's super powerful because all day we have our attention not in us, but on our screens. And this is the only moment in time when you get your attention back into your body by focusing on your breathing. And this is something that calms you down, similar to what you asked, right? What calms me down? Well, getting your attention from your head into your body. And that's like what breathing exercises can do. Another thing you can test is, for example, hot showers in the evening or a warm bath. That helps people relax and also drops the body temperature, and then your deep sleep will be better. So that's one piece. And we also try to keep our dinners not too late. So we eat at some at 6 p.m., go to bed at 9:30 maybe. And also I have this 3 hours between dinner and bedtime, also huge. So then there might be some other things, sometimes some reading, some exciting things that look forward to, maybe some fiction book or something. So that makes it also a bit more attractive. And then when the sleep is optimized, you wake up, you have more energy, and then it's usually a combination of a couple of things, right? I like to use it like these 4 elements, fire, water, earth, and air, like these typical 4 elements, right? You have basically the water element is the hydration in the morning, that you immediately, what we do, we hydrate. I get like some lemon juice, some salt, and like a big shaker bottle of water that I drink. That's the water element. The ground element, the earth element would be you touch the floor. So that would be either, what we do is like we do a morning walk. She takes the bus and then I just walk with her. We walk up some hill. That's like movement. And also we do some yoga in the morning. So you basically touch the ground, the earth, right? So that's the movement piece. Then the fire element would be getting light. Depends, of course, a bit at the time of the day. Great would be, of course, if the sun rises, that you directly get the light. It helps you set your circadian rhythm, and then you sleep better at night. Of course, if that doesn't happen, you go out a little bit later once the sun comes, right, and then take a break. And then the wind element or the air element is getting fresh air and basically going out. Right, so this is super easy to remember routine: hydration, movement, light, fresh air. And then you can add something on top, like you do some journaling, or you sit down instead of having the phone. Well, you sometimes need a replacement habit. Instead of the phone, you have your book or your journal laying there. And then you just write down what you're going to do today, or gratitude, or a positive affirmation, or how you're going to crush today, or what's the one thing you're going to work on, right? That is a bit individual, depends on what the person needs, but these types of things you can implement. And then that's it. And then you keep it simple. It doesn't take too long. The combination of yoga, 10 minutes, hydration, a couple of minutes, walking, 5 to 10 minutes. Then, you get ready for the bathroom. Like in 30, 45 minutes, maybe maximum an hour from waking up, you're good to go. You can start work, right?
When do you get up?
Well, usually around 6:15. Yeah.
He goes to sleep at 9.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course I go to sleep at 9. That's what I talked about in the last mastermind, having this 9-hour window, right? From 9 to 6 is 9 hours, and then you can use that window, exactly. And so then sometimes, of course, sometimes we wake, of course, on the weekend sometimes, I allow myself also to sleep a bit in. This is in this like, if you, for example, have a consistent bedtime for like 6 days, 5 to 6 days per week, and then one time you sleep a little bit in, if it's not like 4 or 5 hours out of your usual time, it's not a big deal. You get usually back on track. So that's not a big deal. But think about this 80-20 principle, right? What is 80% of the time where you can stick to it? Yeah?
How can
Yeah. No, go ahead.
How can someone work together with you? What do you offer?
So yeah, that's a good question. Let's do this at the end because I have something at the end, and then we'll talk about this. Okay? Cool. Manet?
What are your thoughts on caffeine for high performance?
Well, caffeine is a cool question. It's not something I would demonize because there's people who say never drink caffeine, super bad, and then of course the other spectrum, like people being super addicted and needing caffeine. Right? I'm like a big fan of using it in moderation and limiting your intake. So I would always say maximum 1 cup per day. And the other thing is try to reserve it for special moments in your day, right? The biggest rule is don't drink it directly when you wake up. So always wait at least 90 to 120 minutes. Why? Because cortisol is rising when you wake up. You should spike that naturally through movement, hydration, and sunlight. Then it's a cortisol release, which is much more sustainable. Then 2 hours later, this naturally goes down. Then you get the caffeine in, and that keeps your focus levels higher. Because if you don't do this, you're gonna crash in the afternoon because you have this overkill in the morning, like sunlight and then caffeine, and then everything drops in the afternoon, and then you're super groggy. And if you don't do this, and you basically defer it a little bit, and also what I like to do, I get a little piece of coffee, so just a very small one, and then I drink this over a few hours. So I have my water next to me that I drink mainly, and then sometimes I take a sip of caffeine. And it's like, I like the taste, tastes awesome, and it's like a little dose always. It's nothing that you like get the super spike and like, ooh, jittery, and then you have nothing anymore, right? So that's sustainable, but I also have like always 1 day per week where I don't drink any coffee. Like usually on the weekend, Saturday or Sunday, I don't drink any coffee to never get really used to it. And then this little piece is always enough for me because I'm resetting my receptors as well.
Perfect.
Cool. Anybody else? Any questions? Yeah.
What do you think of power naps?
Power naps is an interesting topic. It is an individual one because you can test it and you need to keep a few rules in mind. So never go over like this 25-minute mark because then after that you're going to enter a deep sleep cycle. And then when you wake up at like 1 hour or so, some of you have maybe noticed that, right? Sometimes you wake up and you feel like, oh, I'm in a different universe. What did just happen? Where am I, right? And that's usually when you wake up and you woke up in a deep sleep cycle. And you're like, wow, and you're like so groggy, and it would have been better you didn't go to sleep at all, right? But you can avoid this usually by keeping it really at this 15-minute mark, 15, maximum 20 minutes, because usually you will never get into deep sleep in that time, and then it's just more for mental reset. You might be a bit dozing off, but it's not deep sleep, and that can help you to be a bit more sharp. But longer than this I wouldn't do. If you want to catch up on sleep that you lost the night before, you could do this, then you would go for 1.5 to 3 hours, which is like the full cycle. But then you're gambling a bit, because it might be that you wake up and you didn't complete the full cycle, something disturbed you, some noise or something, and then you're groggy again. So the best is still keep it to low nap durations and rather make sure that the sleep at night is optimized. Yeah, Philip.
What to do if you wake up during night during a deep sleep phase?
Well, I had this last week because we had like a super strong storm in our home. It's like raining hard and it was so loud, and I woke up. This is something you can't do much. You can only try to go back to sleep. But usually you want to simply avoid this. What is mainly the reason for you that you wake up during deep sleep?
I don't know. Just came to my mind because you mentioned waking up during deep sleep.
Yeah.
During a power nap, but I could imagine my cat is coming to me.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Usually your body is so good that it usually doesn't wake up by itself during deep sleep. That's rare. There might be something wrong that, for example, you've eaten so much, like heavy food, meat and so on, which is keeping your digestion active, and then you never really get into deep sleep in the first place, right? These are like internal things, but usually it's outside stuff, like this thing, oh, you have a mosquito in your ear, which bugs you so much that you just wake up. Or like this, for us it was the storm. It was really loud, the windows were shaking and these types of things. That wakes you up. So only thing you can do is adapt your environment. Like don't bring the cat into your bed, for example, or put earplugs in if you live in a noisy environment, move apartments and so forth. And again, you cannot have it perfect. Something's gonna happen, even to me. Like I cannot control a storm, you know. That happens, okay, I'm tired on that day. I'm gonna try to catch up, maybe even with a 20-minute power nap, you know, do some breathing exercises. Next day I get back on track and then I'm back on track again, you know. So that just happens.
But if you wake up and you have to stand up because the alarm clock rings in 20 minutes or 30 minutes, your routine would be the same as the other days.
I would probably, that's actually a situation where caffeine can help you. That's where you should reserve this for. Because of course, if you drink a lot of coffee every day, then you would like up the dose even more, right? But if you keep it in moderation, then for these situations where you had an emergency going on, then you can increase the caffeine a little bit on that day, combine it with something like L-theanine, which is like an amino acid which helps to avoid these jitters. And then you just have this as an emergency, and the next day you go back to usual dose. And then you would get through the day. Combination of like cold showers help you to wake you up in these times. Then of course the little bit of coffee. Some breathing exercises, like if you heard about Wim Hof breathing, for example, can also be helpful for this, to get this focus back and wake you up. But again, these are short-term solutions for these emergencies. Yeah.
Last two, I promise.
Yeah, awesome.
What's your take on bulletproof coffee and carbohydrates in the evening?
Well, carbohydrates in the evening are no problem. Depends, of course, when you eat it, because if you eat, again, the volume of your food too late, close to bedtime, make sure blood is going into your digestion, make sure that you're going to keep your digestion active, you're not entering deep sleep so much. So any food in too much volume, too close to bedtime is a problem. Carbohydrates in it itself are great when you work out, for example. Let's say you work out at 5, you come home from the gym, you eat a bit, 6, 7, I don't know when you eat, at German times, right? The Spanish people probably like, what, 6, 7? No, but you eat, right? And that's carbohydrates in the evening. It's good. Like white rice, potatoes is awesome. They are replenishing your glycogen stores. So it's good after the gym to eat that. So there's nothing to be demonized about this. And to your question, bulletproof coffee. Well, some people say that there's, you know, this is a typical thing. There's this whole biohacking sphere where people go to, instead of fixing the bad habits that they have, they think about, wow, I heard this bulletproof coffee thing. Maybe that's gonna solve all my problems, right? Maybe I get some more supplements and I drink this, I put butter and MCT oil in my coffee and then I'll be amazing, you know? No, it's like, you cannot fix this. These are like small percentages. For some people they like it, some don't, but they're not gonna make huge changes for you. So don't think about these things. Think about how you can get a steady sleep schedule, optimize your bedroom, sleep well, wake up well, and then you can think about that.
I did try the bulletproof coffee and it did not work out for me.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And that's this example again. You have information, right? But still, there is an issue. Right? It's not about more of that. No. Yes, Philip.
You just talked about it. Are there supplements you would recommend?
Yeah, there is some supplements I would recommend. So for most people who live in a climate where there's not much sun, vitamin D3 is definitely recommended, 100%, because that's one of those where it's difficult to get, and that's good for testosterone, but it's also good for general immune function and well-being. So that's recommended. Also, I would definitely check out creatine, because most people thought, yeah, creatine is for bodybuilders and these type of things, but there's studies which have shown that creatine is also good for cognitive function. So you can go, you know, this 3 to 5 grams per day, and no loading or anything required, and that's helpful for both stamina in the gym, strength and endurance, but also for cognition. So those two are really well researched. Then on top of that, you can think about, okay, protein powder supplement, is that may be interesting for me. Depends. If you're vegan, for example, chances are you definitely need it if you also want to go to the gym and gain some muscle, because it's very difficult to hit high levels of protein on a vegan diet, for example. Other than that, it's not necessary, but it's helpful, right, to have protein powder, because you get protein in more and it's easier, for example. So these are things to think about. Then there's the category of the totally optional ones, and these depend on your situation. There's things like magnesium, zinc, selenium, all these types of minerals. I always like to say you don't necessarily need them if you have a good diet, because if your diet is really full of good veggies, of nuts and seeds, of all of these things. So if you guys, quick hack, eat 2 Brazil nuts every day. Brazil nuts, these big ones, they're not that bad actually. 2 of them will already fulfill your selenium need for the whole day. So you can throw them in a smoothie or have them as a snack. Awesome, right? So once you know what to eat and you make this a habit diet, you don't actually need supplements anymore. And then of course you can think about, depending on vegan diet and these types of things, if you need to supplement something, of course that's a different question. But in general you don't need it. For some people, magnesium though helps in the evening. It helps them to relax, it helps the muscle. For some people, they even take it in a bath. There's something called Epsom salt. It's like you put it in the hot water and it's absorbed through the skin. Helps also to relax. But now we're already talking about optional stuff that you usually do after the habits are in place. And everything else is, you guys know, it is very often marketing stuff. It's like, new shiny formula discovered and stuff, but it's like, it's not necessary, and you just focus on one of those few, and there you have the basics. Awesome. Cool. Any more questions? Anybody? Cool. Davorin had a cool question. So what I want to offer, because hot like Davorin right now. Let's set up a Stripe automation now. So. No. What I want to offer you for this, because I'm coming from this place of giving value, and also I want you guys to take something away from this, and then of course later down the line we can talk about working together. But my exclusive offer for you guys is the following. For example, do you have a packed calendar? Do you feel like, the way I'm structuring my days right now could be optimized, or I'm not sure if I'm doing it right or scheduling myself properly? How could you maybe make sure that you have more time, work on the needle moving tasks that we talked about first, and make sure that your calendar is properly set up? Well, I'll give you a full workday schedule audit, take a look at your calendar, give you some tips on how you can optimize that, so we can do something like this. Or are you working from an office or home office, and maybe you feel like, the way I set up my office right now, it's not so productive, or maybe you're not sure about how you manage your tasks, how you set your goals, how you use the project management software, those types of things. Maybe you want to optimize this. Well, then I'll give you a work productivity audit. And is there maybe anything else you'd like to have personally audited by me for free? All of these things are for free. Well, let me know. Maybe your routine, morning routine, sleep routine, whatever you have, just let me know and we'll make it happen. And so how to take me up on that offer? Now it gets funny. This is not really relevant anymore, because my plan was this. Take out your phone, type my name into Instagram, but my Instagram is banned. So you can't message me, but still what you can do is just message me on Facebook. So you can take out your phone and find me on Facebook, just typing in my name, Kilian Markert, and then send me a request if you're not connected yet, and then you send me a message, and then you just send me a DM saying like, I want the calendar audit or productivity audit or sleep audit or whatever you want. Just send me a message and we'll make it happen. Either we talk about it here, or I'll send you a Loom video, just give you some value, help you out, or if you want to have a call, we can also make that happen. And then, why am I doing this? Well, let's be honest, because if you see that I can help you out, maybe further down the line, you want to learn more about our program and how we are able to work together. But let's focus on this first. Let me give you some tips, or let me know if you want some more help. Apart from this, to answer your question, you just can go to my website, kilianmarkert.com, and put in a discovery call, and then we'll talk in person. All right? Perfect. Thank you, everybody. That's all. Or just drop me a heart, and then we're connected. Awesome. Thank you, guys.